So I've been putting off making this video for a while now, and now that it's the 7th of January, 2020, I figured I should finally just sit in front of the camera and do it already. Uh, I thought it would be a pretty cool idea if I listed 5 of my favorite artists that I discovered this year. New artists. They obviously don't have to be bands or whatever that had a release this year. In fact, I think only one of them has. They just have to be new to me. Like I had only found out about them this year. So and some of these will probably be I'll probably be repeating a little bit of what I said in past, like flea market or this month in vinyl or whatever. But at least one of them is I've never had a chance to talk about. So I'm gonna just get right into this. This is sort of in order from my favorite artists that I found this year to, or it's, I was about to say least favorite, but obviously I like all the artists on this. This is the second time I'm doing this and I'm fucking it up even harder. All right, so number 5, we have Stars. And Stars, and I'm just using the record. Albums themselves aren't really important. I'm just using the records as a visual aid. Stars, I found out about my Discover Weekly early this year. I think around January or February. It was Elevator Love Letter. Yeah, right, track 2. That of course, track 2, right? That I'd heard, and I actually liked it enough to listen to the album, and then I enjoyed that album, so I decided to branch out and listen to more of their stuff, which I was a fan of. I'd say that Heart is a good starting point for the band, although they have another album that their follow-up, Set Yourself on Fire, is also really good and I think is more popular. Stars is they're like an indie pop band, and they're from like Canada or something, and they're part of Broken Social Scene. So it's being a fan of Broken Social Scene, I probably should have gotten into them earlier, but better late than never, I suppose. Just give you guys another look at this nice record right here. And yeah, so I listened to Set Yourself on Fire, which I really liked. And then I was looking them up, and I found, at first I thought that Heart was their first album, but it actually wasn't. Not technically. It's the first album that has Amy Millan as like a full-time member. So in a way it's their first album, because Stars is mostly Amy and the guy's name. I don't remember his name. I think, does it say his name on the record at all? This is why I like liner notes. Regardless, the Stars' first album didn't have Amy on it at all, except for, of course not, it's not gonna have it. Except for, I believe like one bonus track, and that album is Night Songs. Night Songs still has the guy whose name I still don't know, and a few other rotating members. It actually has Emily Haynes of Metric on a few tracks. So, and that was really interesting. But the really interesting part about Night Songs is one, you can't find it on Spotify because for some reason, I don't really know why. And another interesting thing is that it was actually pressed to vinyl only in Japan way back when it came out, and no other represses since. So it's kind of expensive. Maybe you'll see it someday, because I actually like that album a lot. But don't hold your breath, because it's pretty expensive. Something interesting about it though and I made a whole Twitter thread about this because one, I felt like writing about it, and two, it was in the forefront of my mind. It's Stars Night Songs has a lot of similarities with Metric's first album, Grow Up and Blow Away. Not just in like the sound, it does sort of sound like it. Especially one song sounds like like ripped straight from Grow Up and Blow Away. But also just like the circumstances of each album and its like release and the time frame it was released. They both came out in the same year, and they're both kind of like how Night Songs is different from the rest of the rest of the band's sound going forward. Grow Up and Blow Away is also pretty different from Metric's sound going forward. Grow Up and Blow Away was also it technically wasn't Metric's first album. It was recorded back in 2001, but it only got officially released back in 2007. I could talk about Grow Up and Blow Away for a while, but that's not really what it's about. Basically, I just thought it was interesting that Night Songs, that Stars and Metric are not only, have a lot of like, they're like almost like sister bands, really, and they both collaborate on Broken Social Scene, so obviously they're fans of each other and fans of each other's sound. I don't know who copied who, I don't think it really matters, but if anyone would like to report on that, I'd be all ears, because I'm very curious. I'm very curious about that coincidental sound. Ugh, whatever. Number 4 is Alex Cameron. I talked about this a bit on my This Month in Vinyl, but Alex Cameron is a guy I heard of when Anthony Fantano reviewed this album back in 2017, and he gave it glowing praise and just talked about how like I remember him saying that it was like kind of weird, a weird-ish album. And this like album cover is actually just really good. It like kind of in selling the almost like the vibe of the album in a way. But yeah, I saw this was $11 at my Bull Moose in the used vinyl section, and due to Fantano's recommendation, I ended up picking it up. Yeah, it's okay. I ended up picking it up. But I didn't actually listen to it until a few months ago, and I'm kind of kicking myself about that. I could have done it without you, but sorry. I need to show you guys this, or the special thanks right here. I could have done it without you, but I'm glad I didn't. That's pretty funny. But yeah, I listened to this back in like October or something, finally, after having it for like 6 months. And I was really bopping my head to it, and I liked this album a lot. And it got me to listen to his recent album that came out this year, Miami Memory, and I like that album a lot too. So thank you, Fantano, for introducing me to this guy that I probably wouldn't have heard of otherwise, at least not for a while. His sound is kind of like he kind of has like an 80s sort of pop sound that I really like, and he's got these big sexy hooks I think you're gonna really dig. The receipt is, I like to put the receipt for the record I bought in the sleeve, but sometimes it gets caught. Yeah, but yeah, he gets these really catchy hooks in there, and a lot of like the subject matter of these songs, at least on Forced Witness, or I guess in Alex Cameron in general, is just it's pretty. It's not something you'd expect to hear from like a pretty smooth sounding like head bopping pop song, but it works in a way that like kind of makes you laugh, and I like that about Alex Cameron, and I'm pretty excited that he's managed to stay so consistent. Cause I should probably listen to the album that came out before this one. I haven't done that yet, but Forced Witness and Miami Memory both being good were enough to put him on this put him on one of my favorite new artists lists. I'm actually thinking about it. I'm wondering if I'd say Stars is weaker than Alex Cameron. I'd say it's kind of a toss up, but I suppose Alex Cameron. I find him easier to just like pick any sort of song and listen to. Stars, I feel like some songs I could take or leave, but like I like the vibe of the band overall. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about Alex Cameron. Next up, we're gonna take it back. We're gonna take it old school with XTC. XTC, obviously this is actually I mean, I have a few others, but this is the album that got me into XTC, as I talked about in my This Month in Vinyl. It's I got into it because I was getting ready for work one day, and I had Vinny from Vinesauce on my television on like, you know, he was like, I was watching one of his VODs. And just like putting on my clothes, getting ready for work, and I was getting ready to turn it off. Excuse me. And I don't even remember what game he was playing, but he mentioned that he'd listened to XTC's Skylarking, and said he really liked it. Now I don't know what was like up with me, because I usually don't do this, but I decided I would take his advice, because he recommended the album, and I was like, you know, fuck it, I need something to listen to. I think this was back in like March or April, so I decided, you know, I'd take his advice and I listened to the album, and honestly I was really surprised with how much I liked it. And then Brian was apparently also a pretty big fan, so he kind of nudged me into listening to them a little more. And it wasn't just Skylarking that I liked. I also listened to their 92 album, None Such, and Oranges and Lemons, and I liked those albums a lot as well. I think probably Skylarking it feels the most like consistent and complete. It feels the most like an album. Especially since like the songs go like bleed into each other like so well. It's really nice. But None Such is a good album, is a great album as well, and so are Oranges and Lemons. I'd say their only problem is that they both are maybe a little too long. Like maybe I'd trim a couple tracks, but the songs that I really like off that album I really like. Like I like Dear Madam Barnum from None Such, Omnibus, Then She Appeared. The Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead is really, really good, and it's a great way to start the album. Oranges and Lemons, Mayor of Simpleton, Merely a Man, The Loving, Poor Skeleton Steps Out. Those are awesome songs. Yeah, I was really happy to find these guys, and I feel like they've kind of been under my nose for a long time, because they must have been pretty popular back in the day. Maybe not over in the States, definitely more in England where they're from. But even still, I feel like I would have heard a little more. But it was kind of like, I don't think I had heard any XTC song until this year. At least not knowingly. Maybe since his working overtime I might have heard before, but I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, XTC, probably my third favorite artist that I discovered this year. Uh, they're one of those bands. Oh, jeez, they're one of those bands that has a back catalog that's like pretty intimidating. So I was hesitant to listen to more than just Skylarking until pretty recently. Of course, I talked about listening to Drums and Wires in the last this month in vinyl. I might listen to that again, see if I get a better feel for it. But yeah, that's kind of one of the problems I have with older bands, is that they're a lot more prolific, I feel, than some newer groups. So it's kind of hard to figure out, like, all right, I've started here, where do I go next? What should I listen to? What shouldn't I listen to? It ends up feeling like homework if you don't do it in the right way. And then we have number 2. This should be obvious, but I'd say Depeche Mode is my second favorite artist that I've had the pleasure of discovering this year. Depeche Mode is a band I'd been meaning to get into for a long time, and it was only when I found that 12-inch at the flea market that I finally decided, all right, now I'm going to get into Depeche Mode. And I'm glad I did, because Depeche Mode kind of kickstarted this I don't want to say obsession, but this fascination, I guess, maybe. I got really into synth pop, and it's partly thanks to Depeche Mode. Even though they're, I'd label them synth pop. They're like I'd always heard that, they're kind of like a goth band or something, and I've been always meaning to finally get into them, and I'm glad I did. Obviously, I'd say something that I like about Depeche Mode, or particularly Violator, is just like how because this was the first, yeah, I believe this is the first album of theirs I sat down and listened to. I want to say, yeah. Oh no, you know what? It wasn't the first one. The first Depeche Mode album I listened to was a Broken Frame, because I had found it at my Bull Moose, and it's their second album, so it doesn't really have a lot of the elements that people really know Depeche Mode for. And I ended up coming away not very impressed with it, but I decided to listen to Violator, and Violator was just so good. It just felt very it felt dark, but not in like the conventional way that I think some bands would go for, like a dark aesthetic. It just, like, the synths on this album are so cool. Like, for example, the opening track, "World in My Eyes," just like the first note is like so good. It's like bing 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 boom 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 boom. It's really like foot tapping, but also a little I don't want to say sinister, but it feels kind of brooding. And I think Michael Gore, I think is his name. Please don't roll me over the coals if I got his name wrong. But no, Martin Gore is his name. His vocals really sell this kind of like brooding vibe that I've come away to really appreciate about Depeche Mode. What I need to do is I need to listen to more albums from them. I've only listened to A Broken Frame, which was I only listened to it once. I've listened to Music for the Masses, and also Violator, obviously, and what is its name? I'm drawing a blank. Playing the Angel from 2005. I was actually surprised, pleasantly surprised to when I listened to Playing the Angel, because it's from 2005, so that's over 20 years from when they first started. So you'd expect like probably not that good, but I was actually impressed with how dark it was, almost darker than Violator, I feel, in some aspects. So I'd say listen to Playing the Angel, but I want to listen to some of their 90s stuff because they have two more albums from the 90s that are apparently really good as well. So that's it for Depeche Mode. Now there leaves one left. And this artist I haven't had a chance to talk about on any vlog yet. I recorded a vlog a little while ago that I ended up not uploading just because I felt I was really rambly, and I didn't. Yeah, even more rambling than right now. I just wasn't really satisfied with it. I'm probably gonna remake it in a little bit, but because it's never seen the light of day, this is the first chance I get to talk in a video about Gregory and the Hawk. So I first found out about Gregory and the Hawk. I was in a Discord call with one of my internet friends, a couple of my internet friends. Excuse me. And one of them puts on a song from this group called Gregory and the Hawk, and I just hear this. I just hear this voice, and I instantly kind of my ears perk, and I just want to listen to the song. So I kind of tuned out the call, and I'm just listening to the song, and I'm like, oh, who is this? And they're just like, oh, this is Gregory and the Hawk. They're pretty good. Like, yeah, they are. And I immediately found the album that song was on, and I listened to it, and the rest is history. I think this was back in May. So Gregory and the Hawk, despite the name, is actually not a group. It is actually pretty much just one person. And her name is Meredith Gaudreau. I hope I'm getting that last name right. Basically, I did some research into this because I was like, that's a really particular name for a singer-songwriter, and apparently she picked the name because she didn't want to be pigeonholed in like a singer-songwriter kind of like scene or something like that. I think I'm getting the quote wrong, but basically, she picked the name over just she picked the name Gregory and the Hawk over her actual name for just to kind of avoid any stereotypes or anything. And I don't want to sound like I'm overhyping her or anything, but I'm gonna I guess I'll just say it. She has the most beautiful voice I have ever heard in any band or group or artist I've ever listened to. Her voice is it's so good. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now, because she just sounds so great. This is actually this is her 2010 album, Léché, and it's her only record, or it's her only release that's on vinyl, and I got it off her Bandcamp. Unfortunately, if you wanted to pick up this record, it's sold out, and I believe this was like when I saw I was on her Bandcamp, it said that she had like 3 copies left or so, and I picked this up, and a short while later the other 2 were picked up as well. I will say this album sounds great on vinyl, and I ended up when I ended up listening to this album, I was actually pretty blown away at first because well I liked the album that I first listened to. Oh, the song, by the way, is Oats We Sow. So if you want to know what my first impression of Gregory and the Hawk was, it was Oats We Sow. Off Moni and Kitschy. I believe that's how you say that. But then I listened to Leshe, and I loved the opening track for the best, and then Landscapes and Over. It just kind of like built and built, and then when I finally heard Soul Gazing, I I knew that I knew that I should I've been sleeping on this artist for so long. I'd never even heard of them before. I think they were a little. I think they were like kind of popular back in the day. It's like my sister mentioned that she knew of the name but never really listened to them. And I think it's kind of a shame that she didn't get bigger, and she still makes music. She actually has a Patreon, so if you are interested in supporting an artist that more than deserves it, you should check out her Patreon because she still releases songs every once in a while, and I think she deserves it. Ooh, oh man, I'm actually getting close to the 30 minutes. I don't really want to do a part two just to gush more about Gregory and the Hawk. Basically, all you guys need to know is that Gregory and the Hawk is my favorite artist of 2019 for me. Favorite new artist of 2019, and I'm resisting the Hawk pun. I'm going to be on the lookout for more releases from I guess from all these bands. Maybe obviously XTC are disbanded, and Depeche Mode are obviously kind of, I don't want to say past their prime, but they're a little later on. But yeah, I really can't state this enough. If you guys have to listen to any band from this top 5 list, listen to Gregory and the Hawk. Just give them a shot. They or she. I don't think I've actually even said the genre she's in yet. She's kind of like an indie folk group. It's pretty much just her and her acoustic guitar a lot of the time. But obviously, sometimes she has a backing band. You get like your drums and stuff. She actually had a group of demos from a few years ago. That's her and an electric guitar. But not really like rocking. It's not like a rock and roll demo. It's not like a collection of rock and roll demos. But she is using an electric guitar in it, and they actually sound really good. And I hope. I don't know what has become of those demos, but I hope that they turn into some sort of album soon. All right, that's gonna do it. Thank you all for watching, and hope to see you guys again soon.